Let's get this party started. And there we go. All right, medication and drug regulation. Comprehensive in the U.S. system of medication and drug regulation began in 1906 with the Pure Food and Drug Act prohibited altering or mislabeling of medication. In 1909, there's the Opium Exclusion Act, which prohibited the importing of opium. Oh, it's the perfect temperature. All right. In 1914, the Harrison Narcotic Act restricted the use of opiates and cocaine. The Food and Drug Cosmetic Act in 1938 gave the U.S. and Food and Drug Administration's, the FDA, enforcement authority as far as approving any new medications and removing any unsafe medication from use. So we had approval of a new medication. It typically takes a couple of years. Only a small fraction of medications submitted to the FDA are approved. So some medications are used off-label, a lot of supplements and things that you guys are taking whenever you're in the gym, whether it's pre-workout, post-workout, BCAAs, all that stuff is not FDA regulated because, quite frankly, it takes too long. But at the same time, you never know who's packaging your stuff. Small businesses cutting costs to save money, probably using factories in China and whatnot. So paramedics need to be familiar with the rules and regulations that are implemented under the Controlled Substances Act of 1970. This is also known as the Comprehensive Drug Abuse Prevention and Controls Act. It classifies certain medications into 5 categories. So we have Schedule 1, high abuse potential and no recognized medical purposes. Then we have Schedule 2, high abuse potential, legitimate medical purposes, lower potential for abuse, and Schedule 2 medications. Schedule 4, lower potential abuse, and Schedule 3, and so on, all the way until we get to Schedule, I want to say 5. No, it looks like 4. So the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency is responsible for enforcing this act. Schedule 1 medications may not be prescribed, dispensed, used, or administered for medical use. Examples of this would be marijuana. This remains controversial, even in today's day and age. I'm not sure at what point the government will allow it. I guess once they are able to tax it enough, maybe. That's something completely aside from this. But paramedics are likely to carry and administer Schedule 2 medications. So all Schedule 2 through 5 medications require locked storage, significant record keeping, controlled wasting procedures as well. I know we have 3 different mechanisms that we lock ours in. So the ambulance itself is supposed to be locked, and then the cabinet containing the locker is supposed to be locked on top of the lock being locked. Now that's HCFR's protocols, so other ambulance companies might have their own. And then for our controlled wasting procedures, we always make sure that we have paperwork and another paramedic who is saying and watching exactly what we're doing as we're wasting those fentanyl, would be fentanyl. Sources of medications include plants, animals, minerals, microorganisms, and other medications may be synthetic, completely made in a factory. And then there's semi-synthetic, so some are chemicals that are derived from a plant and mineral source, and then some are chemically modified from a factory. So during manufacturing, pharmaceutical companies control the following. We have concentration, purity, preservatives, and other ingredients. The United States Pharmacopoeia National Formulary provides information regarding the manufacturing details of medication. Every medication must have a manufacturing lot number and expiration date. So whenever we're filling out forms, most medications will be administered through sterile injected needles or catheters through sterile injectable solutions. This requires careful handling and aseptic technique during administration. So we use IV bags, vials, ampules, glass bottles. Medication management. So medication in the United States have 3 distinct names. They have their used during development name, their chemical name, It's long and difficult to pronounce, rarely in clinical practice. And then there's the non-proprietary generic name, proposed by the manufacturer and approved by the U.S. Adopted Names Council's World Health Organization, and promotes consistency to avoid duplication. And then it also includes a stem. It links them to other medications in the same class, so you have midazolam, diazepam, and lorazepam. That way it is easy to figure out what this medication is doing just by the name itself. We can familiarize. It's not safe though to entirely rely on the stem because there are some imposters out there. When you might think it's one medication, it could be another. Different classes may have the same name. And then there is the brand proprietary name. So that is what is chosen by the manufacturer and approved by the FDA, typically used for marketing purposes. So for an example of a chemical name, we have 4-chloronuphyrfuranyl or furosemide. Its generic name is furosemide. Brand name would be Lasix. This is going to be an anticoagulant that we would use if somebody was having a stroke. Then we want to push that blood through and keep it from clotting. That's what Lasix does. Many reference sources of the Tallman lettering when printing names of certain medications. So capital letters of medications with similar names. We have diphenhydramine and dimenhydrinate. When selecting a medication reference source, paramedics must consider reliability, whether the source itself is credible, and whether the source is printed, electronic, or both. We want to make sure they have accessibility and availability of updates and size of materials used. A medication monograph is the medication profile. Components include medication name, category of class, or medication. Use, indication, mechanism of action, pregnancy risk factors, contraindications, and available forms. We have potential incompatibilities, pharmacokinetics, and adverse effects. We're going to go into all of these. Manufacturers provide a package insert with every package of medication distributed that's approved by the FDA. It includes dosing, route of administration, contraindications, adverse effects, and other characteristics that fall within that drug. Hospital pharmacokinetics often compile medication information into formularies that are specific to the needs of the specific hospital. So the AMA, the drug evaluation, is published by the American Medical Association. This provides details about medication selection and administration. Not every medication is in the compendium as received by the FDA approval. Many choices are available for commercially published medication information references, and then many medication references can be accessed electronically. AHA classifications. So we have guidelines that are established and distributed by the American Heart Association. These can be referenced directly and incorporated into more extensive department or agency policies that are used for protocols. So the medication and interventions that are listed have a varying degree of support throughout the reliable scientific evidence. The AHA also uses the following system to describe the relative importance of certain medications and interventions. So we have Class 1, which indicates that there's strong evidence supporting the use of the medication for the condition. Class 2A indicates that there's moderate evidence, and then weak evidence would be Class 2B. Then we have Class 3. It indicates that evidence does not, in fact, support that there is a benefit, and it may support that there is harmful consequences. So the Class Intermediate indicates that either research is beginning on a treatment, that research is continuing the treatment, and there are no recommendations until further research pushes this into a higher class of medication. So medication storage, we want to make sure that we're stored in a location that provides adequate protection and convenient enough quick access to be stored in a way that prevents physical damage to the medication or its container. It should be placed in a protective bin surrounded by padding and should organize to facilitate quick and accurate identification. A lot of medication can interact with sunlight, so we want to avoid direct sunlight, extreme temperatures, physical damage, and medication warmers or refrigerators as needed. We want to keep it as stable as possible until it's being used. Medication security, so controlled substances require additional security, record keeping, disposal precautions, and they must be locked into storage that are continuously held by on-duty EMS providers. Disposal of partially used or damaged medication containers require verification by a witness. Return of damaged or unused portions of the department responsible for dispensing medication, and regulations vary slightly from region to region. Every milliliter or milligram needs to be documented and accounted for whenever you're ordering administration. Ordering to administration. Controlled substances are often target or tampering diversion. So we want to inspect vials, ampules for signs of tampering. We want to make sure that we don't suspect any tampering when the appropriate doses of analgesics or sedative medication seems ineffective. So the physiology of pharmacology, administration to produce a desired effect of the body, pharmacodynamics is the alteration or function process of the body as a medication that's administered. Any medication capable or beneficial clinical effects can cause effects when given the incorrect dose, given by incorrect route, or delivery to device malfunctions. Factors that are related to the patient condition, the particular medication can cause toxicity or adverse effects as well. Let's see if we can find, take a pause here. We're going to look for more suitable information.